Digimon World 1 has always had an air of mystery to me. This, and a deep love of the franchise, drew me in as a child, as I spent hours upon hours exploring what, at the time, felt like a vast, infinite world full of oddities, such as Toy Town, the giant skeletons in the ancient Dino region, and the strange, oversized, man-made objects scattered around the scenery. Little did I know, there are even stranger things within the game that the ordinary player will never see. And just like that, all of a sudden, my childlike sense of adventure has come back, as today we explore some unused content within Digimon World 1. A debug room, in layman's terms, is a location within a game that is typically only accessible to the developers that is used to test various mechanics for the purpose of debugging, hence the name. Digimon World has 2 debug rooms, both of which are located in the normal world and quite conveniently close to File City. Now, obviously, these rooms are generally not supposed to be seen by the end user or us the player. However, there are certain ways to access these rooms varying depending on the game. So just a heads up, for this investigation, we will be using an emulator and cheats, because as far as I know, cheats are the only way to access these areas. The first debug room in Digimon World 1 is located in the first room of the game, right outside Digimon's house. Generally, using cheat codes, this should be pretty straightforward to reach, especially as we're using a save file that I already beat and therefore start in the right place. However, activating debug mode while standing in File City actually triggers the greymon fight. Who knew? Luckily, we have Phoenixmon, so the greymon jump scare doesn't actually worry us all too much. We head to the item keeper to reset the map and hopefully get the debug room. Well, it kinda worked, didn't it? Third time's the charm as we enter File City from the bottom, bringing us to the first debug room. In the debug room, we can see that while the room itself is unchanged, there are 3 Digimon and a Tokamon. The Digimon each have separate functions when spoken to as follows. The Digimon in the top left, or Digimon 1, gives us 3 options: half dead, okay, opening mode, and fast forward time. Half dead, while sounding quite ominous, just sets your partner Digimon's health to 1. Not exactly half dead, but pretty much there. At least it's not full dead, I guess. We try opening mode next, which as it turns out replays the intro cutscene as you first land into the Digimon world, except for some reason Waymon is giving the introductions rather than Digimon. Not sure why this happened, but it sorted itself out once we headed back into Digimon's house, where he basically picks up where Waymon left off, I guess. Finally, fast forward time does exactly that, giving us the option to fast forward an hour, 6 hours, or 10 days. This will come in handy later for seeing some different unused content. You can see here that I chose to forward time by 6 hours, as there was no way to back out of this conversation, which ends up seeing off the remainder of Phoenixmon's life, which, if nothing else, was quite inconvenient. Long story short, say hello to Gumby. Speaking to the Digimon just below the first one, Digimon 2, we get the text white, blue and red, each repeated 3 times, followed by the in-game date. He then switches gears and says he's Mr. Warp and offers to teleport us somewhere near, far away, or very far away. Each choice has 3 subsequent locations to teleport to, except for very far away, which lists 2 places in the ancient Dino region, and then unknown world as an option. Sounds mysterious, right? Well, turns out this just gives us more options, most of which are less far than the options in far away, just saying. Incidentally, I couldn't back out of this conversation either, so yeah, I guess we're going on a trip. The last Digimon on the right gives us multiple store-based options, including a shop that basically sells everything, while also glitching our bits total so we can buy anything we want. However, we're just here to browse. Hey look, Mojimon Trade Shop. He also has a function that allows you to change your name, or your partner's name. However, Gumby is perfect. Sure hope nothing bad happens to him. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which authors hint at plot development. After browsing some other options this Digimon offers, we find that he has an option under Other Shops that lets us access Gyromon's jukebox menu. However, when I select a song, it crashes my game. This forces us to reset, meaning my Phoenixmon, ironically, gets resurrected, and Gumby, unfortunately, well, he's resigned to never having existed at all. Salty about having lost Gumby, we talk to Tokamon, whose first dialogue box counts how many Digimon we've had so far, and weirdly refers to Tokamon as another Digimon. Tokamon then refers to himself as Mr. Digivolution, giving us the option to digivolve into either Numamon, Sukamon, or Botamon. You know, it's still painful seeing your Digimon turn into Sukamon, even if I did it on purpose. A lot of bad childhood memories of digivolving a promising Digimon into one of these guys. But that's pretty much all there is for this debug room, so we turn our Sukamon back into a Botamon, and head towards the second debug room. On our way to the second debug room, which is located in the native forest near the entrance to Mount Panorama, we are accosted by Agumon who, due to the debug, has respawned. Unfortunately, our baby Digimon isn't doing so well against him, so we come back with a Numamon, which just about gets us past. And after what was just about the longest fight I've ever had against that Agumon, we're free to move on. Anyway, we reach the debug room and are faced with two Sukamon, who act in the same way as the two Digimon in the previous room. The moving Sukamon on the left tells us pretty much the same info as the lower left Digimon, or Digimon 2 as we designated him, by which I mean our in-game time. He then informs us of our Digimon's type. In this case, Numamon is a virus type. The Sukamon doesn't sound too sure when he tells you, but in this case he is correct. The other Sukamon has three options: change his parameters, speed up time for us, and change this into a store. Now, aside from being worded really weirdly, these options are actually quite straightforward. Change his parameters gives us the options make him most powerful, make him most weak, and make him average, which sets our Digimon stats to the max, to 1, or to half their maximums respectively. One of those is much more useful than the other two, in my opinion. Similarly to Digimon 1, speed up time moves forward by either an hour, 6 hours, or a day / 24 hours, for the three people who apparently don't know how long a day is. The last option gives us access to a few more stores that the Shop Digimon or Digimon 3 didn't have, like Centaurumon's Clinic and the Treasure Hunter. So in summary, these two rooms apparently encompass all the testing required by the devs within Digimon World 1, which probably explains why it can be so buggy at times. Jokes aside, it's interesting to see what options devs chose to give to each NPC to test, like the stat changes and time advancement likely testing Digivolution, and all the different shop menus which are self-explanatory. What I don't quite understand is why there are two rooms to begin with. There was definitely room in File City for these two extra Sukamon. Besides, it's not like this other room is particularly far from the first one. Genuinely, if you're knowledgeable in this area and know, or have any idea at all really why this is the case, please let me know down below in the comments because I actually really want to know. I'm also curious about why they chose Sukamon to be the test NPCs in the second room. I get that Digimon lives in the house and that Tokamon also lives in the city. That makes sense, but why Sukamon? Maybe it's a model that they just had at the time, or maybe it was the dev's idea of a joke. Again, if you think you know, please feel free to let me know in the comments why you think that is. Another oddity within Digimon World 1 are unused Digimon. As far as I'm aware, there are 5 Digimon that are either in the game, or at least their Digivolution items are, that can't be obtained through conventional means. Well, with one special exception, but we'll get to that. These Digimon all have special Digivolution items that when given to your partner, allow them to digivolve into said Digimon. These special unused Digimon include Metaletamon, Pangeamon, Gigadramon, Kaminarimon, and Weregarurumon. First and foremost, we can divide this group of Digimon into 2 subsections, as only 3 of the Digimon can actually be used within the game. This is provided we cheat in the items and digivolve them, but you know how it is at this point. Unfortunately, the items for Kaminarimon and Weregarurumon will crash a game on use. If I had to take a guess as to why this is, it would be because these models are probably not in the game, and therefore it doesn't really know what to turn your Digimon into when you feed it these items. The other 3, however, Metaletamon, Pangeamon, and Gigadramon do in fact work and function fully in and out of battle, with each Digimon even having unique special moves. The plan to test each of these is simple. It involves using the debug room to set our Digimon back to Numamon, and then immediately digivolving it, as 2 of the 3 Digimon are ultimates. Well, at least in Digimon World 1 they're both ultimates, we'll get back to that. This doesn't work for Pangeamon though, because he's a champion, and therefore needs a rookie Digimon. So we'll do this one last, because there's a whole thing we need to do. Metaletamon and Gigadramon make short work of our test dummy, aka this Agumon who keeps respawning. So about earlier when I said there's a special exception to one of the Digimon, this actually applies to Metaletamon, who was actually available in the game legitimately. A few lucky people in Japan who won a giveaway were awarded a save file that had a metal banana on it, which kinda sucks because that meant that they only got to use him once, because it was just the one save file. I think I read it was about 50 were given out in total, which is crazy to me because that's tiny, by today's standards at least. This is one of two reasons that Metaletamon is special among the others, in that he's a Mega, not an Ultimate. As I'm sure many of you know, Mega wasn't introduced until after this game, putting Metaletamon in the Not Megas Yet club with Hercules, Kabuterimon, Phoenixmon and Machinedramon. Personally, I'd rather have access to Machinedramon as a partner Digimon, but it is what it is. As I said before, getting Pangeamon was a pain because there was no quick way to get a rookie. We therefore used the debug room to age our Digimon into being reborn. Everybody, say welcome back to Gumby, or Gumby the Second. We then use a little editing magic to give our Digimon stats, and then use Digimon to skip ahead to quickly digivolve. Soon, this gives us a Patamon, who then digivolves into Pangeamon when given the Noble Mane. He also obliterates Agumon, if you were wondering. To summarise my thoughts on these Digimon, while they are cool, I totally understand why the accessible ones we got to play around with were cut from the game, if for no other reason, and they're all less colourful reskins of Digimon already in the game. This probably meant that the devs couldn't justify having both be in the game, which I think is fair for a game released in 1999. Admittedly, I'd never heard of Kaminariman before this, and to be fair, I'm pretty sure that's its own whole thing. But in my opinion, it is a shame that WereGarurumon didn't make it into the game, especially given how important the Garurumon line is for the rest of the franchise. As with the debug rooms, it was very cool to get to play around with something that wasn't intended for us. Almost in the same way that breaking the rules as a kid is quite enjoyable. And frankly, seeing something new in a game that I've loved for 25 years will always be a brilliant experience. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little investigation into some hidden, unused content in Digimon World 1. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. If you enjoyed the video and learned something new, or just enjoy Digimon content, please consider subscribing. It takes like a second and costs nothing and really helps me out. I'm hoping to reach 2,000 subs and would really appreciate any help getting there. Also, if you'd like to support me in a more monetary way, there are channel memberships down below. I really appreciate that, but 100% not necessary. I'm currently working on a Digimon World Next Order video, which will essentially be a sequel to this video, so keep your eye out for that if you're interested. With that said, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye. Another oddity within Digimon World 1 are unused Digimon. It's my alarm.